the title's a little misleading, but I did lose $500,000 since Trump got inaugurated. But yeah, I feel like I got bamboozled. How did I lose so much? Because of my holdings in particular. I'm not an ETF S&P 500 guy, although I should be. I keep telling myself that, but I am basically allocated mostly to Tesla, small caps, and some crypto, mostly in a altcoin called Chainlink. I knew part of me thinks we're heading for a big recession, and the other part of me thinks, wait a minute, Trump, he's going to reward his following, and he straight up tweets on Truth Social and on X saying this is a great time to buy. We're gonna make crypto great again. His own flesh and blood, Donald Trump Jr., told us to buy. But I should have known that while maybe in the long term we're gonna be okay, that was a short-term top signal, because as soon as I went heavy into crypto, I put over 150K total, I was down instantly. I'm still a red. There's China talks going on in Geneva, Switzerland, with his Treasury Secretary Bessent and the top China officials. And I don't know if it's all smoke and mirrors. Sometimes I feel like they're in it together, and they're just getting themselves positioned, telling their inner circles to get positioned, and they're just gonna pump this shit, because the overall consensus, if you ask the average mouth breather in the public, is, oh my god, giant recession, these tariffs are a travesty, a disaster, we could have avoided a recession, but this just pushed us over the edge. The shipping containers and cargo are all backed up, there's no work, factories are shut down, inflation's going to go back up because of the raise in prices. But I don't believe in all that. I really don't. And the biggest thing people need to pay attention to is the Fed. We had an FOMC meeting, the Fed meeting, last week with Jerome Powell, if people aren't aware of who this guy is. He's the chairman of the Fed, but anyone involved with stocks and money, you guys really need to pay attention to the Fed, because people don't realize that they are the ones that are in control of our money. They cause these financial cycles by their monetary policy. For example, during COVID, they printed more money in the past few years than they have in the last 5 decades. And, you saw it coincided with, people buying meme stocks, penny stocks, meme coins, the EV bubble with Rivian and Tesla and other Neo, all these other places. And everyone and their mom had a Robinhood account and hey, check out my portfolio. And they kept this ongoing narrative. Inflation is transitory, which is an infamous thing now. But they knew what they were doing. What did they do? They caused this euphoria in the markets while printing and they used COVID as a backdrop, as an excuse to print a shitload of money. Don't get me started on the whole COVID thing. I have a buddy of mine that says, look at who benefited, and then you can see what the truth really is. All the mega corporations, all the big banks, all the ultra wealthy. Who suffered? The average guy, the small businesses that shut down, that are never going to return. So that's all you need to know. One thing about me you'll hear, a very reoccurring theme, is that it's one big club, guys, and we're not in it. That's a famous line and bit from the late, great George Carlin. He was he's a comedian, but not a lot of people know him because it's before your time. But if you're from my generation, I was born in the 1982. I'm an 80s, 90s kid. He was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was Rufus. He's the man, and he was way ahead of his time. The whole bit, I can't do it justice, but he just says that there's a whole bunch of global elites out there that control us, what we think, what we do, what we say, they control our information, and they have us by the balls, meaning that they just control so many aspects of our life that we don't really know what is the truth. And that includes your news, the information you receive, like just anything and everything. And going back, sorry I went on a tangent, but it goes again back to the stock market. And I'm a firm believer, I don't care what anyone says, 1000%, listen to this, that the news follows the markets, not the other way around. What does that mean? When you're looking at the stock market, and then, oh my God, why did it tank so much? Oh wow, there's a news story saying someone bombed this, or China and US are having rough negotiations. It's the other way around. The market needs to make a move for maximum pain. To extract money from people, to cause people who are not in the know to lose money. So the market makes these just drastic moves all the time, up and down, up and down. So when the market, let's say, went up too much for a few weeks and it needs to go down, they're going to come up with they're going to fabricate a news story that will use as a backdrop to bring the market down. It's not that the market went down because, oh my God, this breaking news story. It's the market was going to go down anyway, and they need some ninja smokescreen to bring it down. I know that for a lot of people, like, what the hell are you talking about? But trust me, that's how it works. Okay, these guys, again, they control all the information. They have a giant network of influence. They control the money supply. Everyone is on the payroll. Everyone, every politician, every famous person, all the big banks, the hedge funds, these mega tech CEOs. They might not know anything and everything, each individual, but they're insiders. They receive the information that they need to know so that they play their role in whatever this whole shenanigans, this game is. So going back to the stock market, I'm a very inverse mentality guy. I truly believe that if you want to make money in the stock market, you just got to do the opposite of what everyone else does. And the only thing is, things take time. I'm always off with my timing. I can't count the number of times where I had a firm conviction in something, right? But then I just got impatient and I got shook out. This happened it happened recently with gold. We saw that big move up. Happened with Nvidia. Happened with Palantir. Happened with uranium, another obscure trade that low key did very well. But that's what they do. They control the information we receive. They control the narrative. So let's go to Palantir, because that one eats at me. I had 11,000 shares of Palantir, and I sold it in 2022 for a 50K loss because I was tax loss harvesting. Like, that's what I thought was a smart move at the time, because I lost conviction. Because at the time, Palantir, it's the golden boy right now, right? Everyone loves it. Everyone who managed to hold on. But when I sold it, it was at the peak FUD, FUD, the acronym for fear, uncertainty, doubt. Every news person, Jim Cramer, was shitting on Palantir, saying no one knows what they do. They're not gonna make it. Every YouTube FinTwit dickhead was like, "This is it's going to $5." They were doing off-shelf offerings. Shelf offerings is when they dilute the shareholders. They add more shares to the whole pile. That means if you were holding it and they add like 10% to it, you just lost 10% of value. So they would always dilute the total shares to pay their employees as stock compensation. So me as a shareholder, I was getting diluted over and over and over. So just getting hit with all this FUD, all this bad news, and their earnings were shit. They never made any money. They were doing these share offerings because that was the only way to pay for their employees at this point. I had enough. I'm like, I don't want to be the ATM machine for this company that no one knows. Even me, I still don't really know. All I know is that they're basically an AI consulting company. They have software, but they have to have a Palantir representative be able to show whoever company wants to use that software. It's not user friendly. They need a Palantir person to like basically run it for them. So at the time, I didn't think, I knew long term they were going to be okay, but I'm like, I don't want to wait 20 years or whatever. But again, I was wrong. I mean, I was right, but I was wrong. But what matters is not fundamentals or earnings. At this point, the stock market is just sentiment. Sentiment is just the warm and fuzzy feeling people have about a certain company or stock. And again, the global elites, the people, the hedge funds, institutions, they decided at the time, hey, let's make Palantir, like, let's suppress the price as much as possible. Let's shake out all these early retail holders because we don't want them to get rich along with us. So yeah, just slip a little memo to Jim Cramer to talk shit about it. Print out all these articles on, you know, Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal or whatever saying that Palantir sucks and Alex Karp, the CEO, is a loony bin because we're going to shake them out and we're going to load up really cheap. And then when the timing's right, when we're all ready to go, we're going to pump that shit to the moon. And that's exactly what they did. They shook everyone out, including myself, and they brought this, nothing has changed, but because of sentiment, they're like, oh, Palantir's amazing. Did you hear in the news that Palantir is awesome? Yeah, I don't know what they do, but they're the future. AI, bro. AI, artificial intelligence. And now it went from, I sold it at a 750 average share price, and it went all the way to 120, is it right now? And that is absolutely ridiculous. And it will still go up. It'll probably go to 200, 250 before it's all said and done. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bitter about it, but it is what it is. For me, it was a very valuable lesson because that confirmed that, again, at the lows, at the very lows when I sold it, sentiment was so bad. Anytime you're like, wait, anytime you tried to defend Palantir as a company, you were just shat on. Everyone poked fun at you saying that's a meme company, it's garbage. And now, again, fast forward today, it's amazing. They're the future AI. But that's what they do. It's to also extract wealth from the little guy, the working class, like us, to the pockets of the ultra wealthy. So the stock market, if you want to make money in the stock market, you have to realize, internalize, like I have, that the stock market is rigged, utterly rigged and manipulated, just insanely unfair. So you can't kid yourself and try to day trade and be a stock picker. You gotta just, that's why they say the most successful people, like a dead person, will outperform, if he had a portfolio, will outperform any so-called, you know, pro day trader. And I've done it all. I've done so many. If you looked at like my Think or Swim like my charts and my study, like you can overlay it with studies. I have all these crazy lines and graphs and figures, and it helps a tiny bit, but it's all bullshit. Like, day traders are just a myth. And anyone watching saying, hey, fuck you, like I've just made this much, you're gonna get, you got lucky, okay? Like, I would equate it for the small number of people, because okay, there are a few people that are out there making a living day trading, but it's essentially the same thing as a pro poker player. Anyone can play poker. I'm all in. Oh, I got pocket rockets, pocket kings, I'm all in. But yeah, anyone can play poker. Any mouth breather, any dumbass can play poker, but can they make a sustainable living out of it? The overwhelming majority, 99.9% of people, no. You're just a fish, you're going to get eaten by the sharks. But there are poker pros, you know, Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth, all those dudes, you know. Yeah, they're the 0.001% that can make it. And that's the same thing as day trading. You know, nowadays, because everyone's, you know, tight on money and people trying to figure out how to earn money and bring in other types of income, now all these YouTube assholes, oh, subscribe to my system, my account, for $29 a month, and I'll give you access to all my charts and all my tips and info and my system that'll make you $1,000 a week. It's just, they're making money on the gullible people paying for that stuff. They're not making money, because if they were truly profitable consistently, why the fuck do they need your $20 a month? If they were so good, they can make $1 million a month if their system is that foolproof. So never fall for one of those subscriber scams. Palantir was a huge lesson, and just to preface it, I do believe Palantir is a strong company. Now that they have this ridiculous valuation that's going to attract even higher talent, employees to their company, make them stronger. Now that they got all of Wall Street and the insiders backing them, now that they have their positions in it, they're not going to let it fail, at least not for now. So this is not a message to short Palantir or anything. I would advise against that, actually. It's just a reminder that you need to have conviction in a company, not time it, and just hold and just inverse the sentiment. If everyone's shitting on it, but it's a good company, buy more. When there's euphoria surrounding it, take a little off the table and enjoy your profits. Anyone who held Palantir till now, I applaud you. You guys deserve that money, honestly, to ignore all the bullshit and the FUD and hold on to your conviction. But to not take any profit at this point that's pretty greedy and foolish. Take a little bit. You don't have to sell your cost basis or your initial, but just take a little bit, because as fast as they drove this thing up, they can bring it back down, and you don't want to regret. I would have had 1.3 million hypothetically if I had held up until. It's one thing to never had those gains, but if you have these gains and then you lose it all, that is soul crushing. You don't want to deal with that. So take a little bit off. Hey, profit is profit. I don't care what anyone says. But the reason I went on this spiel for Palantir is that, it taught me a very valuable lesson to, if you believe in a company and they have strong fundamentals, just hold on to it. And that brings me finally to my point of, Tesla. Wow, Tesla is the most hated stock. Elon Musk is the whipping boy pinata of just hate right now among the left and liberals. And it's all by design. And the most OG of Tesla investors and shareholders, so many of them have said, fuck this guy. I can't support Tesla anymore. I'm out. And maybe some of them got out, in the 400s and the 300s. Good for them. Their timing was better than most. But I can't count how many people, even that I know personally, or just among the message boards for Tesla investors, so many people I can't take this anymore. I'm out. And they sell at the lows. And going back to Palantir, what do they do again? They pay people, the media networks, the news people, the financial analysts, everyone and anything, to lower sentiment. And Tesla sentiment it's gotten a little bit better recently, but a couple months ago, especially after his whole, Nazi salute thingy, and then you got the Tesla vandalisms and people saying, oh, sales are horrible. And, sentiment is the worst I've ever seen. And I've held Tesla for several years now. This is worse than back when we thought Elon was going to leave because of compensation. His comp package, dealing with that Delaware judge. It's worse than when he bought Twitter and he had to sell Tesla to fund that awful Twitter purchase. It's worse than that. But yeah, those are good examples. Each time those downturns, if you manage to keep buying on the way down when the FUD was the worst, you had an opportunity to sell and make a lot of money. And it's no different this time. People thought it was actually one of the worst earnings this last quarter, but in all reality, this shit should have went down 25%. It was their worst earnings quarter. No one can defend it, not even the most, delusional, toxic bulls out there. But what did it do? It actually rallied, because what did I say way back? The chart needed to do something. The stock price needed to do something. It went way too high, way too fast. It went to 488. after Trump won the election. But what did they need? They needed to bring the price down. So in a weird way, all this, I think it's artificial FUD, whether you don't think so or not. They needed to bring the price down. Because if it hit 48 and all of a sudden it drops to 210 with nothing, with Elon was the man and Tesla sales are going really well, I think, and this and that, then people are onto the game. They know, wait, what the fuck is going on? This shit is so manipulated. This shit is rigged. But it is rigged and manipulated. But again, they use that smoke screen, all the bad articles, that bald guy, dickhead, Jerry rigs everything on YouTube, telling all his followers that Tesla sucks, Cybertruck's a piece of shit. Oh, sales are down in Europe 80% this quarter. You guys not know that the Model Y, the new Model Y, was ramping production? Their best majority of their sales, they had to shut all that down to get ready to release the Juniper Model Y. So of course sales are going to be down this past first quarter. Their best seller was basically put on ice, so they had to get it ready. But people are like, oh no, it's because of his Hail Hitler sign, and everyone hates Tesla, and that's why sales are down 80%. Not because they actually had to shut down production and there were no cars to sell. No, that would make too much sense. And don't get me wrong, there's a few idiots out there that did not buy a Tesla, that did sell their Tesla to buy a fucking Hyundai Ioniq or some bullshit. There's idiots out there. That's the thing that I always underestimate. The amount of people, because, there's so many people that will let this fake ass information control their lives and warp their way of thinking. But, yeah, Tesla sentiment is really bad. But to me, and to you, anyone out there listening, you got to train yourself to buy that shit. As long as the company is the same and they're firing on all cylinders, which Tesla is, they got their energy, they got Megapack contracts up the wazoo. Optimus, even though I'm skeptical of Optimus, it seems to be developing nicely. FSD is legit, especially on hardware 4. There's supercharger networks making deals. Model Y, now that they're fully ramped with the new model, they're making great sales in China, and I'm seeing a lot more around here in my area at least. Elon has quit Doge and now he's back at the helm. And lo and behold, it's after tax season. It's after Tesla had its worst earnings. It's during this weird tariff thing that I think will be resolved soon. And anyone who sold because of all the underlying reasons, and again, I don't blame you guys for selling, because if you don't realize their game, it seems real. But anyone who sold in these past few months are going to get left behind. And mark my words, Tesla will go way up from here. There's a gap. I'm not going to say gap, but because it's going to go to at least 404 in the next couple months, and potentially 610 by maybe the end of the year or early next year. And at the same time, when it reaches those price targets, lo and behold, all the FUD, all the media outlets calling Elon Musk like a Hitler and saying he's a piece of shit, everyone saying Teslas are the worst, it's all going to change slowly but surely. Oh, maybe Elon is a good dude, or Teslas are the best vehicles there are. You guys, you guys are like rolling your eyes and saying this guy's an idiot, but mark my words, you guys might think it's unbelievable. How did we get to this point? Wasn't Elon just a few years ago the techno king? He was the left's, best buddy. EVs are like a hippie mobile, aren't they? EVs were for the left, and all of a sudden, Democrats and the left and liberals hate him with a passion so much that they're willing to go to jail and vandalize cars, blow, key people's cars or set shit on fire. The same people that praised Elon Musk just a few years ago are doing this ridiculous vandalism bullshit and protesting at Tesla dealerships. So don't be too skeptical. If we went from that to here we are now, it's not too far-fetched to go back to people praising Elon. And it's going to coincide with the stock price. All right, that's enough. I didn't even get into my main topic of losing money, but I think I'll break it up. I've already talked way too much. So thank you guys. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.